It's the day that makes or breaks some NFL careers, Cutdown Day. Rosters across the NFL are pared down from 90 to 53 men as we turn our attention towards the regular season. For more, welcoming in CBS Sports NFL analyst and former Raiders CEO Amy Trask. Amy, these Cutdown Day decisions have got to be tough. Not only is it about talent evaluation, but also I'm curious, as a former CEO of the Raiders, how much of a factor is the salary cap in some of the moves that these teams make to get to 53?
Well, it is a tough day, not only for the reasons you just discussed, cap, cash, and I'll touch on that in a minute, but there's also a very human element to this. So often the players are discussed as if they're commodities, but they're human beings. And for some of them, today is the end of a dream. For others, they will have to pick up and move on a moment's notice. Some have children who are in schools, and then you don't know what to do with that. And they have significant others with careers. So tears are shed. And I don't mean that in a figurative sense, Madeline. There are tears shed. And when I point this out, people often say to me, oh, Amy, they make a lot of money. To which I answer, I know, I signed the checks. They're still human beings. But as to your question as to cap, we hear about cap all the time on Cutdown Day. Everyone's talking cap, cap, cap. But Madeline, there are teams that care far more about cash than they do about cap. The cap is a method of accounting. And yes, you need to factor in cap considerations. But there are many teams that care more about financial ramifications of the roster. Cost, profit and loss, as opposed to simply cap.
Yeah, a lot of factors go into these decisions. And like you mentioned, they're tough ones because they are considering the human element as well. Some players are going to be packing up a moving truck. Other players might be realizing the end of their NFL careers. Now, one player that is packing up a moving truck, Kenny Pickett. The Browns traded quarterback Kenny Pickett to the Raiders Monday night for a fifth-round pick. Now, this is interesting, Amy, because we've seen the crowded quarterback room in Cleveland. It's down to 3 now, Joe Flacco, and then the rookies Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. But Kevin Stefanski had previously alluded to the idea of potentially keeping 4 quarterbacks on the roster. So with Pickett traded and Deshaun Watson on PUP, they're down to 3 now. But as often as we see it, it's not often we see a team keep 4. So what challenges does that pose if a team does decide to go that direction?
Well, I like this trade. I like this trade for Las Vegas. I like this trade for Kenny, and I like this trade for Cleveland for the reason you just said, Madeline. I think it's tough to keep 4, and I think it's tough for a few reasons. Cleveland has got to figure out what the heck they are doing at the quarterback position. And with only 3 on the roster, recognizing that Deshaun is still not ready to play, you're going to be able to focus more on developing those quarterbacks. 4 quarterbacks is a crowded quarterback room. And of course, you're taking an extra spot on the roster that could go to someone else. So I like this trade for Vegas. I like it for Kenny, and I like it for Cleveland.
The Browns, of course, going with the veteran Joe Flacco as the Week 1 starter and the rookies as the backups. The Falcons going another direction. They're moving forward with second-year quarterback Michael Penix Jr. as their starter, and Kirk Cousins remains QB2. Considering the sizable contract Cousins signed in 2024, a 4-year, $180 million deal, Amy, how does having such an expensive backup quarterback affect what the Falcons are able to do with this roster?
Well, at this point, they may regret having entered into a contract of that magnitude because, as you noted, he's not starting. But credit to the Falcons and credit to any organization who will say, you know what, we may be under contract for a lot of money, but if we don't believe that that player gives us the best chance to win, okay, we're going to be paying the money one way or another. We're going to start Michael instead. There are teams that wouldn't do that. There are teams where ownership or others would weigh in and say, oh, no. We're paying him that amount of money. He needs to start. But if your coaching staff doesn't believe he gives you the best chance to win, either short-term or long-term, however you're engaging in that evaluation, then sitting him is a wise thing to do.
Tough decisions to be made all around the league. The Princess of Darkness, former Raiders CEO Amy Trask, thank you so much for the insight.
Thank you.
Now, Kirk Cousins looked strong in the early going last season, winning 6 of his first 9 starts, but then everything changed. Prior to being benched, he went 1-4, throwing 1 touchdown compared to 9 interceptions. It appears the Falcons and Cousins are content with him riding the bench in Atlanta.
Spencer Rattler's our starting quarterback. Really, really excited for him. He's done an awesome job this offseason. So he's just been consistent. He's made some really good decisions throughout this whole entire process. And, his ability to make plays with his arm and his feet have certainly shown up. And so I'm really, really excited about Spencer. He's earned this opportunity. He's going to do a tremendous job for us. At the same time, we're really, really fortunate. We got Tyler. Love the development that he's had over the course of this entire offseason. He's done a number of things for the first time in his career, just navigating that. And I think that's an important aspect when you're a younger quarterback, to let the whole process play itself out. I thought he capped it off with just an excellent performance against Denver on the last preseason game. I thought he did a really, really good job. And so I'm a big believer in just the importance of developing quarterbacks, developing them the right way. There's a process for both of these guys. Give them the space to develop, and we think we got two guys that are going to have great careers for us. And so, obviously, we're excited about this process. It's never easy. They made it really, really hard because they were very, very close. But we're excited for Spence, and Tyler's in a great position to continue to develop, and we feel like we got some depth in that room, which is really valuable for this league.
Let's just say Rattler didn't exactly shine during his time starting for the Saints last season. He went 0-6 through 3 touchdowns compared to 5 interceptions, and New Orleans scored just 12.3 points per game. We'll see if anything changes under new head coach Kellen Moore. And now joining us for more, CBS Sports NFL analysts John Breech and Ryan Wilson. John, we'll start with you. Although Rattler struggled as a rookie, he did set a Saints rookie QB record with over 1,300 yards. He showed some athleticism outside the pocket as well. But if you're a Saints fan, is that enough to be happy with Rattler being announced as QB1?
Well, let me first say that breaking a Saints rookie record for quarterbacks is a pretty low bar. They haven't had a lot of great rookie quarterbacks there. I am a little bit surprised that Spencer Rattler got this job. When you look at what happened during the preseason, it seems like the competition was pretty even and that Kellen Moore was genuinely pretty split on who the starting quarterback should be. And if I'm personally split down the middle in a situation like that, I'm probably just going to start the rookie, get his feet wet early, throw him into the fire, and see what happens. Of course, the flip side is, as you mentioned, Spencer Rattler did start 6 games last season, so he already has that experience, and I think that is a big part of why Kellen Moore went that route, because you can't simulate what's going to happen in a regular season game, the pressure you feel, but Spencer Rattler has been there, so he knows what it's like. So maybe the plan here is just to roll with Rattler until the wheels fall off the wagon and then turn to Shuck. But it is an interesting situation, and when you look at Kellen Moore's track record, he was the offense coordinator for the Cowboys. He had Dak Prescott. Then he was with the Chargers. He had Justin Herbert. Then with the Eagles, and he had Jalen Hurts. And now he's dealing with this. So this is something new for him, and it'll be interesting to see if he is able to develop either of these quarterbacks.
Dealing with this, incredibly disrespectful to my guy Spencer Rattler. Find someone who loves you as much as I love Spencer, coming out of South Carolina after he turned things around from transfer from Oklahoma. And look, I do have a soft spot for Spencer. And Breech is right. It was tight throughout the preseason. A lot of what we do on With the First Pick, the podcast, is watch every single snap of these rookies and young players. And I think Spencer probably outplayed Tyler by this much. And I use the term young player loosely. It turns out that while Tyler and Spencer share a birthday, Tyler's a year older. So Spencer's actually the young buck in that quarterback room. And the 0-6 you can't run away from. This team, how it's currently constituted, is hard to run away from as well. They're not going to be very good unless Spencer plays like he's Joe Burrow. But I think he does all the things that Kellen Moore wants your quarterback to do. He was a little more precise. He was a little more exact in terms of getting the ball out. He's got a big arm, as does Tyler Shuck. And as you noted, he's a better athlete than perhaps we give him credit for. He ran a 4.9 at the Combine, but he plays a little faster than that. Got that 2-point conversion in that preseason game in the final there to tie it up. So I understand why Kellen went this way. It feels like the safer pick. But to Breech's larger point, whatever happens this year, if it ain't great, they're going to be taking a quarterback next year. And, maybe his name will be Arch Manning. Maybe his name will be Garrett Nussmeier. But this could be a short-term solution, whether it's Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck, if things don't go the way that they need to go in New Orleans.
Well, the odds makers don't seem to think Rattler is the answer at QB. Their win total set at 4.5. Ryan, starting with you, are you taking the over or under on 4.5 wins?
So, look, this is a big day for Spencer Rattler and his family. Let's be optimistic and find 5 wins on the schedule. And you're going to have to do a lot of squinting. Now, I thought about Arizona in week 1. No. 2 games before the bye that I think they have a chance. The Giants and Patriots are at home in back-to-back weeks. Then afterwards, after that bye week, I'm going to have them winning 3 games to close things out before everyone packs up and goes home for vacation. I think they can beat the Panthers and the Jets at home, and maybe they pull out a victory in Tennessee against the Titans, who also have a rookie quarterback there in Cameron Ward. That gets you to 5. But good luck finding other wins on this schedule based on the expectations we have for this team.
Well, when Wilson files for bankruptcy in January, I'll know it's because he bet the barn on the over because he found those 5 wins. The interesting thing here is because they're going with Spencer Rattler, we talked about his 0-6 record last season. You can't always pin wins and losses on quarterbacks. We know that. But a big part of the reason why they lost those games is because they got a poor performance from the quarterback. We saw that completion percentage was under 60%. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns. He averaged under 200 yards passing per game. So if you're a young team like this, you need your quarterback to come through and make big plays. And so it's hard for the Saints to win games because they're probably not going to get that. So like Ryan, I also went through and I was looking at games that maybe they can win. They get to play the Carolina Panthers twice. They get to play the Titans, who will be starting a rookie quarterback. They get to play the New York Giants. Maybe that's a win. And if they can't beat the Giants, maybe they can beat the other New York team. That's the Jets. They also play the Jets. So it does feel like maybe there are 5 wins on the schedule, but I am going under, and that would be my bet. I do not think they are going to get the 5.
Meanwhile, in Cleveland, Browns coach Kevin Stefanski has named rookie Dillon Gabriel the number 2 quarterback. Fellow rookie Shedeur Sanders, drafted 2 rounds after Gabriel, will be the 3rd-string QB. The Browns QB picture has taken shape over the past 2 weeks. Joe Flacco is the starter, and Cleveland traded Kenny Pickett to the Raiders on Monday. Here's Stefanski on why Gabriel will open as QB2.
It's such a all-encompassing evaluation, so everything the guys did in the games was important. We also saw a lot of them out here in practice and how they are at their craft, and he's certainly somebody that we think is getting better and better.
Back here with John Breech and Ryan Wilson. Guys, it feels like everybody and their grandmother has had an opinion this offseason on the Browns QB battle, but it is now official. Shedeur Sanders is QB3. Ryan, your thoughts about how Stefanski handled the situation throughout camp and the entire preseason?
He handled it the same way that Mike McDaniel handled Quinn Ewers being a 7th-round pick and handling him through the pre-draft process, or excuse me, the offseason and then the preseason. No one was talking about that. Kevin Stefanski did his job. Andrew Berry, the GM, did their jobs. I know that they like Dillon Gabriel better than Shedeur Sanders because they drafted Dillon Gabriel 50 picks before they drafted Shedeur Sanders. And they would have taken him earlier if the opportunity had presented himself. They like Dillon Gabriel that much. I also know it based on the preseason games. And while Shedeur had a good start to the preseason against Carolina Panthers in Week 1. I thought Dillon was solid in Week 2 against the Eagles, and then last weekend in that game against the Rams, in which I think John Breech and I both could have put up better numbers than Shedeur. That's not the end of Shedeur's season or his career, but it does confirm the fact that he is the developmental quarterback. Andrew Berry has said as much about both he and Dillon Gabriel. There's no conspiracy theory. I wrote about this on CBSSports.com. It's okay that your 5th-round pick, taken 144th overall, is a backup in his rookie season. Because if you want to see things go sideways, go ahead and throw him out there behind that Browns offensive line that's battled injuries, and they don't have a real playmaker wide receiver outside of Jerry Jeudy. And let's talk about what that looks like. So everything is, there's nothing to be worried about. I give Shedeur credit for not belly aching. He's just doing his job, and he'll find his snaps when they come in practice, and then maybe he'll get a chance to play at some point, because I don't think Joe Flacco is going to start all 17 games.
Yeah, Ryan, you did write a fantastic article, and make sure to clip me saying that because I think that's the first time I've ever complimented you here on HQ. But it does really explain why it's not necessarily a big deal that Shedeur Sanders is buried on the depth chart right now. I mean, how many times in NFL history has a 144th overall pick gone out and started in their rookie year? It's just something that doesn't happen. And I think that one thing that's important for the Browns is that Kevin Stefanski has stuck to his guns, as Ryan Wilson just kind of alluded to. There was a lot of pressure. Fans were screaming, hey, why isn't Shedeur Sanders playing more, after he kind of lit up the Carolina Panthers in that first preseason game. Then he is obviously injured in that second preseason game. And then against the Rams, we got a taste of what happens when you get a reality check. And so the Browns had Shedeur Sanders at number 4 on the depth chart, that first depth chart. Well, you throw Kenny Pickett out because he's in Las Vegas now, so you move up 1 spot to the 3rd spot on the depth chart, and that's what it's been. I feel like Stefanski has handled this fairly. Some fans might not like that, but it does feel like when you look at the Browns' totality of training camp, Joe Flacco was the best quarterback. Dillon Gabriel was the 2nd best quarterback. Shedeur Sanders was the 3rd best quarterback, and that's where we are right now. So to me, this decision by Cleveland actually makes sense. A lot of their decisions don't make sense. This one does.
Guys, Tuesday was obviously the deadline for roster cuts in the NFL. Teams obviously having to make some tough decisions to get to that mandated 53-man roster. Out of all the cuts made, who was the most surprising to you, Ryan?
I'm going to go with producer Lucas's team here, the New York Jets. He probably was not surprised by Malachi Corley getting cut, but this was only his 2nd season, heading into his 2nd season. He was literally drafted 14 or 15 months ago, 3rd-round pick out of Western Kentucky. I likened his game to Deebo Samuel's coming out, and the lasting memory he has with the Jets is that he had a touchdown that he dropped before he crossed the goal line, which is one of the most infuriating things in all of sports, and that might be his lasting memory as he makes his way out of New York for the last time. Look, this new regime, Darren Muji, the GM, excuse me, and then AG, the new head coach, they didn't bring in Malachi Corley, so they had no ties to him. But I'm sure it was incredibly frustrating last year when Garrett Wilson was begging for someone to step up, and it just never clicked with Malachi Corley. There were reports that he wasn't excited about playing on special teams, and he thought he should get more reps. None of that stuff came together for him. And now 1 year after his rookie season, in which he didn't do much at all. I think he had 3 total receptions, and of course that 1 touchdown that almost was. He is out of work, at least for the New York Jets for now.
Ryan's going with a young receiver. I am going with an older receiver. Marquez Valdes-Scantling out in Seattle was released on Tuesday. And the reason this was a big surprise to me, because if you go back and you look at the contract he signed earlier this offseason, it was only a 1-year deal, but it included $3 million in guaranteed money. That means the Seahawks just wrote him a $3 million check, and he doesn't have to do anything in return. He's never going to play a snap for them. So usually when you commit that kind of money, that person is usually a lock to make the roster. They may not play a bunch, but so Marquez Valdes-Scantling really didn't have a great training camp. He was at the top of the depth chart early August. And then a part of this also was the emergence of rookie wide receiver Torrey Horton. So there's just a multitude of factors here that impacted why MVS didn't make this team. And he's really kind of fallen off a cliff over the past couple years. You look back in 2023, he barely had 20 receptions while playing for the Chiefs. In that high-powered offense with Patrick Mahomes, he wasn't able to put up big numbers. 2024, last season, Josh Allen was his quarterback for part of the year. Again, wasn't able to put up any big numbers. So it really feels like he is now on the tail end of his career because he was not able to crack this Seahawks roster.
Always appreciate the insight from John Breech and Ryan Wilson. Thanks, fellas. And we are inching that much closer to NFL on CBS returning in full swing. It all begins on Sunday, September 7th, with several must-see matchups, including Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers visiting the Jets, and an NFC North showdown at Lambeau Field between the Packers and the Lions. You can also stream all the action on Paramount+.